Hey guys, Julian here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make techno atmospheres. So to go along with this video, I actually just dropped an atmospheric techno mix. So if you want to check that out, it's going to be at the top of the description. And yeah, also to go with this video, I'm going to be giving away the project file and the samples for free. So if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because they will be available shortly. Everybody else, yeah, you can get that in the description. And yeah, let's get started. So this is a loop you heard in the intro, and today I'm just going to be talking to you about how to set up atmospheres in techno tracks and kind of how to build them up. So the first sound that I have here is this little pad thing, which sounds like this. So the way that I made this sound was actually by taking some vinyl noise. I took this sample. So yeah, you can hear some pretty basic vinyl noise. And basically what I did was I put it into a resonator. So if you don't know what Ableton's resonator is, basically it's this like effect. It comes with Ableton. You can find it down here, resonators. Yeah, and all this is it kind of gives your sound like this metal kind of resonant sound. So basically I took it from this to this. And so the way the resonator works is basically you can hear like as the signal gets a little bit louder, as you see the waveform get bigger here, it makes those kind of like scraping metal sounds. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm taking the crackles in the vinyl crackle and using those to make this really cool kind of like nuanced, very like organic sounding sort of pad. So what we've got here is I've just got this kind of like tuned. You can see we've got the K set like that. We've got the dry wet all the way up. And then I've got the note set to G sharp. That's the key we're in G sharp minor. And then it's just doing a minor chord. We've got these two doing a minor third and then these two doing the fifth. So that's the first thing in the chain. After that, I have this auto filter, which sounds like this. And so what's happening here is you can hear I've got this low pass filter, and then I've just got a little bit of an envelope on it, so it's kind of like going with, again, like when the signal gets a little bit louder, it's kind of opening up more. And then I also have this LFO on it, and that is moving it just kind of like constantly, like. That's what's giving it that motion throughout the track. So that's just to give it a bit more movement. It's also to make it a bit deeper sounding because this didn't really blend so well into the track, but this kind of fits in a little bit more. So then after that, I've got a bit of reverb. You can see we've actually got quite a bit of reverb. This sound is very like atmospheric. That's what I was going for with that. And then we just have a compressor side chaining into the cake and an EQ8 cutting out the line. The next thing we have here is this pad, which sounds like this. And so what this is playing is, you can see, it's just doing this G sharp minor chord. I've just taken the third, the B here, and just put it up an octave. And this just makes it a bit more kind of like spread out sounding. Here's without that. And then with it. Yeah, so then for the sound on this one, I made this using analog, and this is meant to kind of sit underneath this. So you can hear, I kind of like gave it a little bit of a different timbre, which I'll talk about in a moment. So the way I made the sound was using analog, like I said. You can see we just got two side waves going into this bandpass filter. And with the bandpass, I'm kind of shaping it. Again, this is to make it kind of fit a little bit better with this. This is very deep and low mid-rangey. And then this is very much like in the high mid-range. That's what the bandpass is doing. It's just taking this and shaping it down to this. After that, just got the amp envelope set like that. And then the only other things in here, as you can see, I've got this LFO1 on the frequency of the filter, so that's just kind of moving it. kind of bringing it to life a little bit more, giving it some more emotion. And then I've just got a bit of vibrato inside of analog here, and a little bit of unison as well to give it kind of a bigger sound. That is it for inside of analog. After that, I've just got a bit of chorus. You can see it's set like this. Here's without it, and then with it. So that's a lot of dimension to the sound. Then we have this echo doing dotted eighth notes. Although this is like a very static sound, meaning it's just kind of playing the same thing throughout, it's still nice to have some echo on here because the cascading delays do sound pretty good and give it kind of a nice texture. After that, we've got a bit of reverb. You can see I've got the decay time up pretty high on this one. And then we just have an EQ8 cutting out the low end, and finally a compressor side chaining it to the kick. The next thing we have here is this little drone, which sounds like this. So this is where it kind of gets to, like, trying to build up the atmosphere and not just have it be like a few different things, but have it be kind of many things all coming together into one. So like a good example of this here would be like how, we don't just have this. We don't just have this. With just either of those things, you can hear it's kind of flat. But with all three coming together to really make the sound, it has a lot more atmosphere. So that's kind of what this is doing. It's meant to be kind of playing off of what the pad and that vinyl noise thing are doing. So here's those, and then I'll bring this in. So yeah, you can hear what it's doing. Although, again, these are all kind of coming together, they're still very much separate, and you can definitely hear the space between the sounds with this. So the way I made this sound is just playing this one D sharp that is actually the fifth of the key we're in. And then what we've got here is we've got a square wave inside of analog. So I've got the square wave, and this is going into this Formant filter. So if you don't know what the Formant filters are, they're basically filters that are meant to kind of mimic like actual vowel sounds that you make with your mouth, like kind of like ooh, ee, ah, ee, all of those kind of things, and it shifts between those. And so what I've done here is I've taken this, and I'm using it to kind of give this a cool, more like vocal kind of sound. You can hear there's the basic square wave, and then with this. So it's just taking it, and again, making it like a little bit more of like a vocal kind of sound. After that, we get the amp envelope set like this, and then the last thing inside of analog here is just this vibrato, which is just set like that. After that, I just have a reverb, giving it some space, and then a bit of compression, side chaining it to the kick, and then finally, just an EQ8 cutting out the low end, and that's it for the drone. Like I said, really simple sound. Next thing we have here is the stab, which sounds like this. And so what this is doing is it's kind of adding a bit of atmosphere to the track. It's kind of playing these things like that, and then it just rings out a bunch because there's a bunch of delay and I believe, a bit of reverb on there as well. And so again, this is adding to the atmosphere because it is really just this one quick kind of like percussive rhythmic thing, but by having so much reverb and delay on it is adding to the atmosphere because we get that little chord droning on and on. So the way I made this is it's just playing this G sharp minor chord again, that's the key we're in, and then I made the sound using analog. So what we've got here is we've got a square wave and then we've got a saw wave an octave up from that. And those are going into a low pass filter which has an envelope on it. Pretty simple stuff. Here's what that sounds like. Yeah, really nothing too crazy. And then I just have the amp envelope set like this. After that, those are going into this resonator. So I'm using the resonator just like I did, well, actually not the same way, but kind of similar to how I used it on that vinyl noise up top. I'm just using it to give this a more metallic kind of cool texture. So again, here's without it, and then with it. This is a nice way to take a synth and make it sound less like obviously synthy, and give it kind of like a cooler sound. So you can see, we just have this tuned to a G sharp minor chord. Pretty simple stuff there. Got the dry wet almost all the way up. And then after that, we've got a bit of chorus. Pretty simple stuff there. Just gives it some space and some dimension. Then we just have a bit of echo. You can see I've got this echo doing dotted eighth notes. Like that. It's really long again because we want this to be very atmospheric. And then after that, we just have a reverb, pretty simple stuff there, and then a compressor side chaining into the kick. Next thing here is this lead, which sounds like this. This is also kind of atmospheric, even though it's very very much melodic. You know, it really is adding to the atmosphere of the track. Like if I turn this off and then turn it on again, you can hear having all that reverb and all that space in between those notes really helps to add to the atmosphere of this track. So the way I made this is it's just playing this little thing where it's going G sharp and then B, just the root note and the minor third of the root chord, and then it's just going to G sharp there. Pretty simple stuff. But then I made this sound using operators. So what we've got here is basically we just have two saw waves detuned off of each other. You can see I've got them playing this FM algorithm, so there's no actual FM going on. It's just doing they're just playing side by side basically. Then those are going into this low pass filter, which you can see has quite a bit of envelope on it. So that's doing that wow that you hear in the sound. Here's without it. And yeah, then after that we just got a bit of chorus, just gives it a bit more dimension and makes it a bit bigger sounding. And then we have this drum bus, and the drum bus is just kind of beefing it up and making it a bit more textured. Here's without it, and then with it. You can hear it makes the sound a lot fatter, a lot bigger, and just really helps to tie the whole thing together. After that, we've got a bit of echo. You can see it's doing eighth notes. Then we've got a little bit of reverb, and then an EQ8 cutting out the low end. Pretty simple stuff there, just kind of like the space stuff. Again, having a long reverb and delay is good with the sound because it's so sparse. It only hits at the start of every 2 bars, and then we get all that atmosphere kind of adding to the track afterwards. And then yeah, the EQ8 is just to cut out the low end. After that, we just have a compressor side chaining into the kick, and that is it for the lead. So then the next 2 things that we have here are these sort of background noises, which sound like this. So what these are is basically just a vinyl noise sample, and then this background noise, which I actually recorded myself. I believe this is like a train station or something like that. And then what's happening is you can see I've got these both filtered. I'm cutting out the low end on this one, and then we've got them side chained as well. So we got this one cutting out the low end, and it's side chain, and then on this one I've got it being filtered. I've also got this little erosion in there, which is adding that kind of crunch that you hear to the sound. Then we've got this one with like a band pass on it, and then finally we just have a compressor side chaining into the kick. So yeah, that is pretty much it on how to do the atmospheric stuff. I'll show you the kick is really simple. We just have this kick, and then it's going through this rack where we've got the dry chain and the wet chain, and then we've got some reverb going into a distortion with a bit of filter at the end. Then we just have some EQ8 kind of boosting the low end and a drum bus. And then we have these hi-hats, just some simple operator. Just some white noise hi-hats. We got this one, white noise going into a bandpass filter. Same thing with this one. This one's got a bit of echo on it, and then we got this in a group. And yeah, that is pretty much it. So that's it for this one, guys. Hopefully I showed you some cool techniques to make some nice techno atmospheres. So, like I've said, this is going to be it for today, guys. As usual, you get the project file and the samples for free in the description of this video. So make sure to check for that. If you're a patron on Patreon, check that because they'll be available shortly. Once again, you can also check out the mix that I just dropped in the description, at the top of the description. You can't miss that. And while you're at it, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.